Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Darryl West on the line, and he is president at Powerhouse Real Estate. Darryl, welcome to the show.
How's it going?
All right, Darryl. So, man, I've been trying to get you on this show for a long time. I'm excited to talk about what you're doing over at Powerhouse Real Estate, and also to talk about the program you have for your agents and the education and the training. I mean, you're doing a whole lot. Also, you're launching a podcast. You know, we have to talk about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really excited to hear that we are going to have the privilege of distributing your show on the Mission Matters Podcast Network. So we'll talk about that as well. But to get us kicked off, we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with our Mission Matters Minute. So, Darryl, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Darryl, what mission matters to you?
The mission matters to me is pretty much finding out what drives you inside and then attacking that and just blocking out all the noise so you can get there pretty much in a straight line the fastest way possible.
That's great. Love bringing mission-based entrepreneurs and executives on the line. And I want to go further into, of course, Powerhouse Real Estate. But how did all this start for you? So let's take a step back. How'd you get into the real estate business, and where did all this start for you?
Well, it all started maybe somewhere close to 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think my mom, she lost her house when I was, 18, 19 or so. And it just didn't sit well. I wouldn't say she lost her house, but she was kind of like in some financial troubles. And an investor just came and offered her peanuts, and she thought that was her only option. And she pretty much gave the house away for nothing. And once we kind of like found out that she had other options, it didn't sit well with me. So I kind of like did everything I could to kind of find out about real estate. So I ended up like helping families that were in this position ultimately in the future. I started working with REOs, which are bank-owned homes. So I'd actually try to help people who are like behind in the mortgage, and help them save their house if it's possible, if it was salvageable. And if not, then, of course, we went to the next step and selling the house before it got taken from the bank. And that way they got something instead of nothing. So that's pretty much how I got my initial start into the business.
Yeah. And one of the things I like about just your background in real estate, and I was excited to have you on the show and to kind of get your take, is because, I mean, you've worked, and nothing against a real estate agent, by the way, that, they start their career off and then they're just, selling residential homes, or they have, a niche and they fall into it immediately. For yourself, I mean, you've always kind of sought opportunity within the real estate as a whole. So I feel like you've never really put yourself, from what I know, never really put yourself in this box where you had to do one thing versus another. Can you tell us just a little bit more about your approach overall to real estate, like how you see this as an opportunity?
Well, I would say, naturally, like residential real estate, that's what everybody thinks of when they think,
And that's why I say it, because that is what everybody thinks about. Go ahead.
Right. And like my personality is actually not suited for like, residential real estate, like, crown molding, and, that's I'm not that guy.
You can't, come on, you can sell the crown molding if you want to, Jeff.
I can, but naturally it's like more so, is it a deal or is it not a deal? So of course I match that the best I can, but it just, I like to be myself. So like I'm so commercial, so residential. And as of now, I've kind of even jumped out of the real estate sales space, and I'm doing like short-term rentals. That's something new that I'm playing with. So I've done a little bit of everything within the business.
Yeah, that's what I think is really interesting about your career. And so, there's some individuals that'll watch this that are maybe either considering entering the real estate industry in one way, shape, or form. And then maybe there's some people that are in a particular niche and they're thinking that the industry maybe isn't necessarily for them, or this isn't exactly what they wanted, but they don't necessarily know that there's all these other things in real estate that may be more suited to their personality, just like you found different things that made sense sense to where you could add value to the market, based off of, you know, being smart and based off of what you want to do as well. So it doesn't always have to be that type of trade-off. What kind of advice would you give to either that newbie that's just getting started, or maybe somebody that hasn't quite explored as much within the industry? Like, what kind of things would you tell them?
First and foremost, I would say find yourself a mentor, someone who's doing at least what you think you want to do. And that way you can ask them a ton of questions, and then you can kind of figure out sooner than later, if this is something that you want to do or not. And if you think it's something that you do want to do, then you want to like at least have a little bit of stick to itness, so you can like see it all the way out. That's what I would like advise a newbie to do.
Oh, for sure. Mentors. I mean, mentors, when I think about my career, I mean, like, if it wasn't for mentors in this business and my previous business as a financial advisor, like, I feel like I saved so many years and just so much time to not because I, you know, had all this crazy success. Sometimes it's just like a mentor is just going to help you not go down a path that you're like, wait a minute, I thought it was this. And, you know, it wasn't because somebody else has already tried. And it was just not what I thought it was. Yeah. So sometimes a mentor can just save you a whole lot of time as well, on maybe some paths that aren't going to make sense for you long term, just based off of sharing their experiences. So great stuff there. I think this is a great transition too, because I know you're doing some special things for agents over at Powerhouse Real Estate. So maybe just start off with giving us a little bit more of the background on the business. Tell us a little bit more about Powerhouse Real Estate.
Powerhouse Real Estate, we started off, I wasn't even quite sure if I was going to build it out to be this big agency, and we're still boutique. We're not really big. But pretty much what we do is we generate leads and things non-traditionally. Like, we're not hammering the phones away or anything like that. We leverage social media. We create a ton of content. We remarket our ads, so people actually come to us. So I don't necessarily know exactly where, you know, someone found me from. They may have found me from several different mediums, but we talk when we're supposed to talk, not me just hammering away. So that's more so like what we're teaching, like teaching you how to be findable. And,
it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And that's like inbound marketing or building your brand or, you know, creating content. I mean, I know all these things are part of, you know, how you've been successful. I mean, give us some of your views on what it takes to kind of carry that out, because it's not necessarily an easy thing to do, but you're executing.
No, I wouldn't call it easy, but once you kind of get it figured out, it's something that you just kind of rinse and repeat. But you definitely, it's something that you need a roadmap. So you just kind of follow the roadmap that's given to you. And, you know, like, I mean, our process, it's through creating content, posting on social media. We offer a hook. My hook happens to be home value, because we attack homeowners. And then pretty much from there, once the homeowner goes on their site, gets their home value that they're looking for, then they get a bunch of retargeting videos about an array of different topics. So at some point they feel like they know you. And when someone from our team finally reaches out, it's not a cold call. It's like, oh, Darryl, I know that guy.
And I laugh because it's true. And for those out there that aren't really, you know, like, you didn't quite catch what Darryl said, like, there's a lot of nuggets in that. So what he's talking about is creating content and videos and making sure that you're ahead of people before even sometimes the call. Because if somebody already knows your name, they already know your brand, they already know you. And especially with videos and content, like, I'm a huge fan of the podcast, obviously, but videos, any type of content you're doing, it could be blog, whatever it is. If somebody's reading you, they're watching you, they're listening to you. And if you can start building that relationship in advance with yourself as a thought leader, or as just an expert in your field, somebody that's giving them valuable information that they find of value, like, you're that much further down the path when you actually do have a conversation with that person to where they become a client, right?
You articulated that 100%. That was perfect.
What do you think and I'm going to ask, this is a loaded question. I'll preface it with that. What's the secret sauce like to creating great content? There you go. Boom. There goes my landmine, right? I know that's loaded and it's going to be different for everybody. Okay. But what's your secret sauce?
My secret sauce is 80-20. I make it 80-20 about 80% about who I am, letting them in a little bit, so they know who Darryl is. So what it does is people who don't mesh with me, they're gone. And people who do mesh with me, they're in.
Yeah.
And then once they're in, then I'll give them the 20%. I'll give them stuff about real estate, because no one wants to know or hear about real estate all the time. And the last thing that I do is, of course, email marketing, but I send out a newsletter monthly.
Yeah.
And, people love it. They love the newsletter. I've been doing it for about 7 or 8 years. And,
man.
Get a return on it.
Oh, come on. Let's stick on that one a little bit longer. So newsletters still work?
Yes. Print. I use a print newsletter. I use an email newsletter too, but I definitely send a newsletter to their homes and as well as email.
Love it. And I mean, for everybody watching, if you're not doing a newsletter, please start one, whether it's print, whether it's whatever form of newsletter you want to do, like do a newsletter. Like it's so important. And it's so, as a company, I like to pick on myself a lot and maybe some of the mistakes that I've made as an entrepreneur. So hopefully other entrepreneurs won't make that same mistake, but we didn't start our newsletter here for, I think our first 2-3 years of business. And why it was just one of those things that we're like, we focused a lot on social media. We focused a lot on other things and producing the content and distribution and the website. But I was personally of the mindset thinking, newsletters were kind of like, that's stale. That's like nobody else reads newsletters anymore. Nobody does that. But then I didn't realize that I was reading other people's newsletters. And I'm like, so then one day we launch it and it just was a game changer. Like our numbers, our downloads, and they all went up. We do a weekly newsletter, and we're doing is sharing our content and sharing our episodes, which is essentially free. So you're giving a lot of free value. And then when I kind of changed my mindset and the approach to the newsletter. And at first I was kind of thinking about it like, what's in it for me? Like, what am I going to get out of this? But then once I changed my mindset and I thought about it, and I'm like, no, it's about how do I give value? And how do I do that? Like, I'm not charging anybody for that newsletter, which I'm not against paid for newsletters. There's some really great platforms that do an amazing job, and somebody should pay for those newsletters for sure. But that's just not our model or what we do. So we give away our newsletter and the majority of our content based on the podcast or other things like that. And once we started doing that law of reciprocation or whatever, or just adding value, everything exploded. And part of that is very likely due to that newsletter.
Right. I definitely think that's the name of the game. You have to pretty much give before you take, and you have to offer a ton of free, information or create value for someone, like whatever they're looking for, give it to them.
It's awesome. And so speaking of creating great content, I have to bring up Powerhouse Entrepreneurs, the new podcast you'll be launching. And I'm so proud to say it's going to be on the Mission Matters Podcast Network. First off, tell us about this vision you have for this show. I know, and by the way, I know we're still in production, so not holding to everything, and all good there. And don't worry, because when it is live, we're going to, I'm not going to be able to shut up about it, first of all. But tell us a little bit more about the vision of the show.
You're right. I mean, we're still in production, so I'm actually really excited about it. And I started off a little slow. I was a little under the weather last week and just shared that this morning with you, right? But I do have a vision for where I want to take this. I don't necessarily want to reveal it today, but I think I'm going to have some pretty good hosts and an array of different topics, but within, finance and real estate. And I just want to see if I can get some good authority speakers on there once I get a flow going. So it might be a little while, but that's what I'm leading up to.
That's great. And you're going to do what? Put that in your newsletter, right? Because people want to hear.
Oh, for sure. I already have a tab that's going to be for the podcast.
I have no doubt, no doubt at
Yeah,
all. And I'm excited to watch the show develop and unfold, and just happy to be a part of it and be able to make that happen.
yeah.
Let's go. Let's circle back to real estate number one.
Okay.
So what areas do you work in? Like, so not just residential versus commercial, but I mean geography, because this is a national show, and just to get a little bit of a feel for the areas that you work in.
All right. I would say I'm in the greater Los Angeles area. Specifically, I'm in what they call the South Bay, um, just south of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And so I pretty much cover the beach cities over here. Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, Torrance, Gardena, Hawthorne, that sort of deal. Rancho Palos Verdes. But, if someone's like my sphere of influence, I can be taken outside of that area slightly.
What do you like about the South Bay market? Like, what keeps you drawn besides the fact that it's beautiful? So, meaning for anybody that's never been there or are not quite familiar, Manhattan Beach, all these other areas. When I'm from Michigan, so when I first got here, and I'm like, what's this South Bay thing everybody keeps talking about?
Yeah.
Then I drive down the coast and this and that, and I'm like, oh, this is how Hollywood sells everybody in the world on California, because this is really pretty amazing. The Hollywood walk and the stars, not so much. South Bay is the real deal.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Hollywood
Like,
has its place. Beverly Hills, Hollywood, all that stuff has its place, but I'm just a little bit more low key.
Yeah.
And the South Bay, like my office is right here in Pacific Coast Highway. I live right off Pacific Coast Highway. And I don't know, I love it, man. Just like a few steps from the beach.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily go to the beach every day, but I can. There's sea breeze. I just love the area. And I think
it's
the
an
people
amazing
here,
community, isn't it?
people here
Like,
love
the
the South
actual
Bay.
community there is just like made up of some special people. I've had the privilege of being down there, hanging out a little bit, but I'm told that like that community is just something else.
Right. I would have to agree.
Yeah. What about tell me a little bit more about just kind of the makeup of the real estate market down there. I know you're working in different areas, but so obviously there's going to be, investors, going to be people all around that watch this and that maybe aren't quite as in tune with South Bay. Like, get a little bit of a feel for the market and what's going on.
Well, as of today,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, we're kind of going through some changes, just like I think the rest of the country is. Rates went up maybe a 1.5% over the last month or so. So like everything's slowing down, which I think is a good thing. I mean, it can't go up forever. So people are kind of like Larry. So there's not much movement either way. And there was a ton of buyers before, inventory is growing. So there's just all those buyers kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, people that have to move are still moving. People that have to sell, they're still selling.
Yeah, I get it. I want to circle back to Powerhouse Real Estate and what you're doing for agents. So, are you currently still looking for agents, bringing them on, mentoring? Like, give us a feel for where where you're taking the firm.
Okay. Yeah. Currently, we're not advertising anymore for bringing on agents, but yeah, we're always looking for agents that are the right fit, that they have the right mindset, and this is something that they're looking to do. But right now it's more so like still boutique, like almost like we're all a team here.
Yeah.
So we have our non-agents in the office, and then we have our agents. So we're just trying to get the right mindset and the right mix of people, not just a horde of agents. You have a license, come on.
What do you think are some of the characteristics that make up a good agent, like somebody that's going to last in the industry? Because it's competitive. It's a competitive business. What do you think are some of those things?
Yeah, it's funny. We just kind of went over this yesterday with our team. I think starting off, if you can approach this business and life with your glass half full, if you can just start that way and just kind of think you can instead of think you can't.
Yeah.
That'll take you a long way, So you just have to kind of have a little bit of self-belief. Sometimes it doesn't look obvious that the deal or whatever it is, the goal is in front of you. But sometimes like you don't want to quit right before you hit your goal. So you just have a little bit of stick to this.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's I mean the same in many businesses, right?
Right.
So the cool thing about this though is that for those that, are interested in real estate, they have that curiosity and they have that, I think you said stick to itness or however you worded that.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I know it's
there's
not a
that
word,
opportunity.
but
And so I just think there's a lot of opportunity in real estate. I'm a big fan of the industry and also of just the opportunity it provides and the value that it brings to the marketplace. So I just have to ask Darryl, a lot going on with you. I mean, creating content, Powerhouse Real Estate, got the Powerhouse Entrepreneurs podcast coming up that you'll be launching. I mean, what's next? I mean, what's next for you? What's next for your team?
uh, for me personally, I just kind of been playing around with some different things like stock options. That's something I play around with. I know the market's down, but there's still some opportunity there, just like any other market when it's down. So I like it's something I like to do. Also, like I said, I'm playing around with short-term rentals.
Yeah.
So I'm building a base there. It's growing. The business is growing. So I'm always looking for something better, or not something better, just something to keep my interest outside
Yeah.
of just real estate sales. And if I can build this big passive income machine, that's kind of ultimately what I'm looking to do.
Awesome.
And then share it with my team.
It's amazing. And if somebody is watching this and they want to learn more about Powerhouse Real Estate or to connect with you and your team, I mean, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best way they can reach me on several different channels. You can go to my Instagram. It's my name, Darryl_West on Instagram, or go to our website, thepowerhouserealestate.com, or you can just send me an email. It's DWest for Darryl West at thepowerhouserealestate.com.
Fantastic. And we'll put all that information into the show notes so that our audience can just click on the website, head right on over and check out you and your team. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters or engaging with the platform, we're all about bringing on entrepreneurs, executives, and experts and having them share, why they do what they do, how they're doing it, their mission behind that. And hopefully we can all learn and gain and grow from that information. If that sounds like the type of content that's interesting or fun or exciting to you, then we welcome you. Hit that subscribe button. We have many more mission-based individuals just like Darryl coming up on the line, and we don't want you to miss a thing. Darryl, I'm so excited for your podcast launch, for all the things you're doing. Thank you again for coming on the show, and can't wait till we get that first episode launched for Powerhouse Entrepreneurs. Thanks again.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.